Hello friends, welcome to my first lecture on Microsoft Excel. So let us open MS Excel first. I'm using Excel 2016, Excel 2016. So you'll have many options here. So select this blank workbook first. Right, so this is your first blank workbook, and if you see the title here, it is called Book 1. Okay, this title of the book will change once you save it in a different name. So let us save it first. Go to File and save it as, I have a folder called Excel Tutorials, so I'm going to save it in Excel Tutorials. And let us call it My First Workbook. Okay. So this is your first workbook, and I understand that probably you have never used MS Excel. So let me explain one by one. So once you open Microsoft Excel, you'll always get a workbook. A workbook is like a big book where you will have many pages or many worksheets. Like this one, by default, you'll always get sheet 1. In the bottom left corner, there will be a tab, and this is your worksheet 1. Okay, you can add many worksheets in an workbook by pressing this plus button here. You can add more sheets like this way: sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, and so on and so forth. In Microsoft Excel, and especially in Excel 2016 that I'm using now, you can have total 255 worksheets. Of course, it will depend on the available space, free space in your computer. If you have more available space, you'll probably be able to add more worksheets in a workbook. So in one workbook, you may have about 255 worksheets, which is a lot. And in an worksheet, you'll see there are rows, the horizontal ones, and the vertical ones, we call them columns. Okay, so the rows are identified by their row number, which is a numeric number 1, 2, 3, 4, and this way. And you can see how many rows are there if you put your cursor in this top left corner cell and press Ctrl down arrow. That will take you to the last row of the worksheet, and this is how much? This is more than 1 million, so 10,48,576. So let us write something in this worksheet. So first of all, we are gonna write, so this is my first workbook. Okay, sorry about the typo. This is my first workbook, and in one workbook there may be how many? 250 worksheets. Okay, at the moment we have only 4 worksheets here, right? And the number of rows in one worksheet is how much? 10, 4, 8, 5, 7, 6. Okay, and there are many columns as well, A, B, C, D. If you want to see the last column, there is no number here. The columns are usually identified by the alphabetical presentation. So if you click on this top left cell and press Ctrl right arrow, that should take you to the last column, which is denoted by XFD. So there are ways how to count the number of columns. I'll show you later on. Since this is your first lecture, I'm not going into all those complex functions and everything. So there are columns. I can tell you that in MS Excel 2016 there are 16,374 columns. Okay, so there are let us put some comma here. 10,48,576, which is more than 1 million rows. That means in one worksheet there are many cells. So these small boxes are called cells. Okay, so there are many cells, and we can easily count the number of cells. How many cells will be there? That will be number of rows multiplied by the number of columns, which is 48,076 times 16,374. That is a lot. Okay, so that will be huge number of cells here. Okay, you will probably be able to identify how many numbers are cells are there. And let us click on the right edge of this column. Double click on the right edge of this column, right? So that will accommodate or auto fit the contents in the column. Okay, the width is automatically adjusted. So in one worksheet you will be able to store many data, and that is equal to this much. Okay, and this way, if you have 255 worksheets in a workbook, so in one workbook you should be able to store how many data? This multiplied by 255, which is a lot. Okay, so Microsoft Excel can store plenty of data in one workbook. Even it is difficult to exploit the storage of one worksheet of a workbook. Okay, so we'll use Microsoft Excel for storing data and also to analyze data in many ways, in the ways we want them to be done for our purpose, for our project, or for our particular task, right? Let me now take you to the top ribbon here. So we have ribbon here, and these ribbons have many tabs. This is file tab, which is we are all familiar with, and then we have this home tab. In home tab you have cut, copy, paste, font, etc, etc, and also there are some special tabs related to MS Excel works, and you learn about all these things as we progress. Okay, and there are also other tabs like insert tabs, and this is particularly useful for developing pivot table. We'll talk a lot about pivot table later on, and also to insert charts, graphs, and all these things. You can also go to page layout tabs for formatting your page layout. And the strongest feature of MS Excel is the formulas. There are many built-in formulas in MS Excel, like about 467 formulas are there in MS Excel, and all these are stored here. You can see auto sum. If you click on this one, you'll be able to get sum function, average function, count numbers, maximum, minimum, and all these things. You will also get financial functions. If you are working in a worksheet where you'll have many financial calculations, you can use the built-in formulas in Excel, and also you can use the logical functions, date, time, mathematical trigonometric functions like cos, sine, and all these things, log, tan inverse, sine inverse, and everything. So there are many functions in MS Excel. As I said, about 467 functions are there, and if you are not happy with these functions, I mean, if your project or if your work demands something new, or some new function to be introduced, you can always develop that. And for developing your own function, you can go to this developer tab, and by using Visual Basic Editor and also the macros, you can use, or you can develop your own required functions. So there are flexibilities in MS Excel. You will be never bogged down with your work. Okay, let us now start with a simple small project, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste a set of data I already had on my clipboard. So these are the marks of a class of 10, how many students? Of 12 students, okay? The student IDs are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you can calculate easily if you click this column, okay? And you see the count is shown here. So there are 13 students in this class, I'm sorry. It is not 12, 13 students. And we have marks of each student obtained in English, in history, and in maths, each out of 100, okay? So we already have this table or the data populated in column A, B, C, and D. So we are going to do some mathematical manipulations using this data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to center the contents of the columns. So these are the columns, and also you can center it in the middle of the row, and these are the headers we have. So in the headers, if it is not visible to you, let me make it bigger. Let me make the fonts bigger. Instead of 11, let me make it big, 16, okay? And you see the headers are not correctly fitted in the columns. So let us adjust the column width. Double click on the right edge of the columns, and that will auto fit the content of the header. That looks good, right? And now what we are going to do is, let's play with this. We'll make it bold, right? And we'll fill color here, alternate yellow and gray in the gray for English and maths, okay? Now let us find the average, okay? So we are going to write average marks obtained by each student in all these 3 subjects, right? So this is a bit smaller. Let me make it bigger, and we want the same property to have in this cell. So what we can do is, we are learning many things together, so please be with me. So I'm going to click on this cell, okay? That should look yellow and also bold and also of the same font size. So I'm going to click on this cell, go to Format Painter, okay? And click on this one, and then you click on this one. So that will import all the properties of this cell in this cell, okay? And let us adjust the column width, okay? And if you want to put border like this, you can also do that. You can select this column and go to this border, okay? There will be many options here. So you click on this one, that will give you all borders. So if you want to obtain average, what we are going to do is, now we are going to use our first function in this workbook, and this is your sheet number 4. We are working in sheet number 4. We have done nothing in sheet number 1, 2, or 3. That is fine. So this is sheet number 4, and we'll write our first function here. So please remember, when you are writing a function or a formula, you'll always have to start with an equal sign and write the function, which is average. You just write AVE or whatever if you are not willing to write the whole spelling. So if you write average or AVE, that will give you a drop down list, and from this list you can see that your function is here, average. And what does average do? This function returns the average or the arithmetic mean of its arguments, okay? So this is your function, that is the function you need. This is your function, and the arguments are number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And the numbers or the arguments should be separated with commas, right? So you can do it like this. You can select this one because you want the average of all these 3 numbers. So you can do it like this. Select this one. It will never write 52. It will always write the position of the cell, that is B2. What is B2? B is column, the name of the column, and 2 is the name of the row. The intersection of column and row is the address of the cell, okay? So that is B2, and then you click on this one, that is C2, and then you click on this one, D2, and then you close the parenthesis. So that should give you the average marks of these 3 subjects obtained by the student ID 1. Okay, so you can write your function in this way, or you could do it in another way. Let me show you how. So let us write AVE and pick up average, and then instead of putting commas between the cell addresses, what you can do is you can drag from this cell to that cell. That makes life easier, because if you have large if you have to average a large range of data, then you can't keep on putting comma after each cell and all these things. That is too much manual. So this is kind of automated, right? And close the parenthesis, and that should give you the same result. Okay, and now in order to copy this formula, you don't have to write it again and again for each cell. Instead of that, what you can do is you can put your cursor here on the right bottom handle of the cell and double click, and that should copy the formula, the same formula, right down to the last record of this data set. Okay, you can check. See, it is written here. That is when you are the formula in this cell will be average of all these cells, that is B3 to D3. Here it will be from B4 to D4. So that is automatically done, and that is the strength of Microsoft Excel. You don't have to worry about it. If you notice here, well, the font size is not exactly the same. So what we can do is we can click, select this and make it bigger. I believe the font size is 16. Yeah, this is 16 as well. We have made this 16 as well. Okay, right. Now, please note here that after decimal, you have many places in this cell. Here there is nothing, because probably this is a rounded up value. Here you have again decimal places. We don't want presentation to be like this. We want equal number of decimal places after the decimal point. So how can I do it? Just click on this cell, select the cells, and click on your right button, go to format cells from this drop down menu, and select number, format cells, and click keep this number tab activated. Forget about all these tabs now. You don't have to do or learn everything right now. So go to this category number, and here you'll see the decimal places. You can define your decimal places. If you say no decimal places, it will truncate everything after decimal point. And if you click one place, it will see the sample is also here, right? So let us put 2 decimal places after the decimal point, and click OK. That makes it good. That looks good. So you have two places after the decimal points in all the cells, and you can also center justify it. That is fine, right? So you have the average marks, and you have already learned your first Excel function, and now we are going to get the total marks, right? Total marks. And how to get the total marks? We can, of course, we can do it like this plus this, then plus this. This is one way of doing it. That is fine, but that is too much manual again. So what we are going to do is we are going to use this sum function, piece of cake, and just drag from this to that, and that should give you the summation or the total marks obtained by this student ID, right? And in order to get the grid, go there, and also you can adjust the font size, make it middle, center justified. And in order to copy the formula down to the last record, go same way. Okay, so that is fine. So this is how you can get the total marks, and you can also get the, what do you want to get? Say the percentage of marks. Okay, so percentage of marks here, and what will be the percentage of marks? Percentage of marks will be total divided by what is the total marks of this exam, 300, right? And times 100. That is your formula. There is no function here. That is formula. Okay, So this is the total divided by 300 times 100 will give you the percentage of marks. And in this particular example, average marks and percentage marks should be exactly the same, and that is what it is. Let us now copy the formula down to the last record and also adjust all these decimal places like before. Okay, you are already familiar with this now, and also adjust the font size. Okay, and make it center justified and row middle. That is your percentage of marks. Now if you want to know which students have passed and which students have failed, okay, so you want to know that, of course you want to know that, and that is the final result. I mean, after doing all these things, what else would you want to get? So pass or fail, that is what you want to know. And what is your pass mark? Let us say your pass mark is how much? 50%. Okay, very stringent. Okay, so we are going to now use a very useful function that is most often required by most of the MS Excel users. So we are going to now use if function. Okay, so if is a function that checks whether a condition is met and returns one value if it is true and returns another value if it is false. So everything is popped up here, so no problem. So we are going to write if function. So we have started with equal sign and written if and then first parenthesis, and then this is the syntax of if function. So if, and the logical test has to be there. Okay, and what is your logical test? That is, if this percentage of marks is greater than 50, okay, then it will return what? If it is true, it will return the student has passed. Okay, the student has passed. If it is not true, that is, if the percentage of marks obtained by a student is less than 50, which is true in this case, it will write fail. Okay, that is your if function, and this is very strong feature of MS Excel, I am telling you. So if percentage of marks is greater than 50, it will write pass. If not, it will write fail, and press enter. There you go. The percentage of marks of this student is less than 50, so it has written fail. Very nice. Now let us copy the formula down to the last record, and you'll see the status of all the students rightly written as passed or failed. So let us adjust all the fonts and justifications. Okay, so what has happened here? Let us go step by step. So this is less than 50, so it has failed. This is also not greater than 50. Okay, this is equal to 50, but it is not greater than 50, and you put a condition that for passing the obtained percentage should be more than 50. That is why it has displayed that the student has failed. So this is fail, this is fail, this is fail, and all these are passed. This is again fail, and rest of the students have all passed in this examination. Okay, so this is how you can use MS Excel for many different calculations. Okay, you can do average, you can do total, you can get percentage of marks, and also you can use your logical statement, and by that you can see the status of what has actually happened to all your students in this class. Okay, now let me give you one simple tip which you may forget, or I may forget, in fact, in my future lectures. For example, in the column A, where we have written student ID, we have written the student ID as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to write, say, 001, okay, your student ID is 001, and then if you press enter, say it is not showing the leading zeros. Okay, similarly, if you write 002, again, it is not showing you the leading zeros, but you want those leading zeros to be there, right? So what you can do is there is a problem of formatting of this cell. So you can select the cells in the column and click the right button, go to this format cells from the drop down menu, and in the category of the format cells you'll have to select is as text, not as general, number or anything else. Just select it as text. So what will happen is text format cells are treated as text even when a number is in the cell. So whatever you write, the cell is displayed exactly as entered. Okay, so you're going to do that, and now you're going to type 001. See, this is fine, piece of cake. And then you write 002, that is also fine. And now if you drag this formula down, there you go, right? So all the leading zeros are still there, nothing is wrong, and you have done your job perfectly. Now if you want to add the marks of another student, see, it is not doing it because we have not formatted it, right? So you're going to go back there, select these two cells and then drag it. That will give you the next number based on the difference between this between the number of these two cells. And here if you enter the number of the students, 60 and then 75, see, so it has all automatically updated the next cells here. So the total, average marks is 61.65. The total marks is this, the percentage, and the status of the student is pass. So that is the strength of Excel. I have tried to show you with a simple demonstration, and there are many more things you can do with Excel. I'll show you with my upcoming videos. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for watching this.